The 2023-2024 European soccer season was an amazing one for American fans and for American players playing in Europe. A long-standing record was broken, and not only was it broken, it was absolutely smashed and destroyed. Today I'm breaking down what that record is, and I'm talking about what it means about this generation and about the present and future of American soccer and the USMNT program. What up, guys? I'm Pete Douthit, host of the 11 Yanks channel, where we talk about all things American soccer, particularly on the men's side. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button and click the notifications button so that you get notified whenever a video comes out. If you've been here before, smash that like button. It really helps us out. Really appreciate it, guys. Okay, with the generation that we have now, we often end up discussing where they stand compared to other generations that have come before them, and I mean American players. I don't think there's any doubt to the rational mind that this generation of players is more talented than any that have gone before them. And it's still young, so we have to wait and see what these guys accomplish. But in terms of raw talent, I think it's very interesting. Now, there's a significant amount of pushback in the USMNT community who claim that this generation is overhyped or that they aren't as good as last generations or whatever. Now, we don't know if that's really true. Some of these things are relatively subjective, although I disagree. But we are going to look at a metric, okay? And this metric has to do with goals and assists in Europe's top leagues and what guys before them have accomplished and how that compares to what the current generation is currently accomplishing. It isn't the be-all, end-all of data, and it isn't going to conclusively or definitively answer the question about where this generation stands. But it is a very interesting data point, and I think it's worth paying attention to, because, guys, this is just the beginning. Before we get into it, though, guys, let's have a quick word from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy Sports is back with a new and improved pick'em game across all sports that makes it easy to play fantasy sports with just a few clicks. Each sport allows you to build a parlay that includes between 2 and 5 predictions about the outcomes of player projections. As you would expect, the more picks you include, the greater the potential payout. Don't go crazy with it and play responsibly, but adding a few bucks here and there to a game gives it a little more excitement and stakes. Use my promo code 11YANKS or click the link in the description to start playing, and Underdog will match whatever you put in your account up to $100. Enjoy!
So thank you to Underdog for sponsoring this video. I also use BetOnline on my own time, and I find that to be quite a good website as well. All right, let's dive into the video. All right, so in the 2012-2013 European season, Americans playing in top 6 leagues set a record for the most goal contributions, goals and assists, playing for clubs in the top 6 leagues. That record number was 73. Now, let me clarify a few things. This does not mean goals scored in the top 6 leagues. This means goals scored or assisted playing for clubs in the top 6 leagues. So including league goals, European goals, whether that's the UEFA Cup, now called the Europa League, or the Champions League, or even, the FA Cup, Leagues Cup, all the domestic cup competitions that every league pretty much has, right? It includes all of them. So it's not just league goals. It's all goals scored while playing for that club. And that number was 73. And that was largely carried by Clint Dempsey and Josie Altidore. But it was an amazing season. And here's how it broke down. Clint Dempsey had 19 for Fulham. Josie Altidore had 38 for AZ Alkmaar. Geoff Cameron had 2 for Stoke City. Steve Cherundolo had 2 for Hanover. Jermaine Jones had 9 for Schalke. And Michael Bradley had 3 for AS Roma. So just these 6 guys playing in the top 6 leagues scored or contributed, but 73 goal contributions between them. Now, why the top 6 leagues, Pete? Some people might ask. It's a good question. I played with the idea of just making this a top 5 league statistical point, but reality is some people would say, oh, well, according to the UEFA coefficient, the Eredivisie actually has been in the top 5 the last 2 years. So if you're saying top 5 leagues, did you mean France? Did you mean the Netherlands? Personally, I still think that the Eredivisie is a bit behind all those top 5 leagues, particularly the last 6 or 7 teams in the league are quite poor. So I wouldn't have them in the top 5 league. But for the sake of this statistical point, I thought it would be interesting to just include the top 6 to avoid any debate about that. The other thing that made that important was that really, Josie Altidore got 38 of those 73 goals playing in the Eredivisie, and so that accounts for about half of the goals. Reality is, Americans have never really significantly contributed to goals in the top 5 leagues. They just haven't been. I mean, this number would be 35 instead of 73 if we took out the Eredivisie. So it's just something to be aware of. We are going to look at the top 6 leagues for this season as well. Speaking of, on March 30th, 2024, Folarin Balogun scored the first of 2 goals against Metz. That goal doubled the record set in 2013, bringing American totals in the top 6 leagues to 146. By the end of the 2023-2024 season, that number totaled 181 goals scored and assisted by Americans playing in the top 6 leagues. That is a 248% increase in production on the original record. That is a significant jump, guys. A significant jump. This is even more remarkable when we consider that guys like Folarin Balogun, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah, Brendan Aronson, Taylor Booth, Tyler Adams, and Ricardo Pepi had what would be considered subpar seasons, either in terms of playing time or performance, right? Balogun didn't have his best season and also wasn't really the main guy at Monaco. He was kind of behind Ben Yedder. Gio Reyna hardly got any playing time for Dortmund or Nottingham Forest. Tim Weah was largely a substitute for Juve. Brendan Aronson had a pretty poor season for Union Berlin despite getting a lot of playing time. Taylor Booth was injured for much of the season. Adams was injured for much of the season. Pepi didn't play much because he was behind Luke de Jong. When you consider that all of these guys either didn't have enough opportunity to contribute to the goals, the fact that we still managed to get 181 is noteworthy. Now in 2012-2013, the 9 Americans in the top 6 leagues played 30,261 minutes, or 3,360 minutes per person on average. So there were 9 Americans who played in the top 6 league in that season. Only 6 of them actually got on the score sheet. Tim Howard, for example, was another one who played, the entire season, but of course he was not really a goal scorer. In 2023 and 2024, 31 Americans in the top 6 leagues played 57,657 minutes, or 1,869 minutes per person on average. So we more than tripled the number of players playing in the top 6 leagues this season, and we also nearly doubled the amount of minutes played. So goal contributions is one metric to look at, minutes played is another metric to look at. And I think, again, the increases are significant. These are how the goals break down from this last season. Christian Pulisic for Milan got 26, Tillman got 23, Balogun 15, Pepi 12, Pfok 11, Juve 10, PSV 9, Dest for PSV 9, McKennie had 10, De La Torre had 9, A-Rob had 7, Booth had 6, Sabi had 6, Paxton had 6, Scally had 5, Zach Booth for Volendam had 5. So you can see the numbers right here. 28 of the 31 guys contributed to the goal. So 31 guys played. The other 3 who did not get goal contributions were Tyler Adams, Matt Turner, and Austin Trusty. So 90% of the 31 who played, essentially. Whereas in 2012-2013, it was only 66% of them actually got goal contributions. The guys that set the record in 2013 had an average age of 29. This is important because when we look at the amount of minutes per person played, it was 3,300 something in the old record, and in the new record, it was 1,869. So yeah, there was significantly less minutes, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that our guys were are young. Some of them are quite young. I mean, even the guys who are big players for us, like Musa, Reyna, Pepi, and Scally, are all still just 21 years old, for example. Our elder statesmen are 25. Clint Dempsey did really great things at Fulham, but only in the last 2 or 3 years that he was there did he really start putting up big numbers, and that was in his prime. None of our guys have reached their prime yet, which is fascinating to watch, and I think speaks to what we can expect over the next 5 years from this generation that we're talking about. The guys that set the new record in 2024 have an average age of 24, right? And of course, that's made significantly higher because, guys like Tim Ream or John Brooks or Timothy Chandler, even though they're defenders and center backs, they contribute to that age. But actually, if you take those guys out, the majority of the goals were scored by guys where I think the actual average age would be significantly lower. And that bodes very, very well for the future of these kinds of numbers. Now let's take a look at the distribution of goal contributions by competition. So here on the left, we have the 2012-13 season. 71% of the goals came in the league. 10% of them came in European competition. It was mostly Josie in the Europa League. And 19%, almost a fifth, came in Leagues Cup competitions, whether that was the Domestic Cup or the Leagues Cup. So quite interesting there. Now, in 2023-2024, 83% of the goals scored came in the domestic or in the league, right? 150 out of 181. 14 of them came in Europe, and 17 or 9% came in the Leagues Cup. So it's not like, this record is marred by the fact that our guys were beating up on fourth division teams in, Leagues Cup or FA Cup. Reality is the majority of those goals did come in the leagues, and I think that is significant as well. I don't know if the number is so significantly different from, 2012-13, where you still have 71%, so a vast majority came in the league, which makes sense. I think where we can continue to make progress with these guys is the amount of, goal contributions in European competition, particularly in the Champions League, where I still think we can be better. Then there's the distribution of goal contributions by position. And way back in 2012, the majority of them came from strikers, right? It was mostly Dempsey and Josie. And then from midfielders, you had, Bradley and Jermaine Jones contributing 12 between them. And then center backs and fullbacks contributed 1 or 2 apiece. So really, most of them came from 2 guys playing in attacking positions. But if you look now, there's a pretty good distribution. In fact, the highest percentage of goal contributions comes from midfielders, right? 35%, as you can see here, or 65 goals. The next highest one is not strikers, it's wingers. That's 27%, or 50 goals came from our wingers. Thanks also to Christian Pulisic. About half of those came from him. And then the third most is strikers, 40 goals. Keep in mind that Josh Sargent and Haji Wright both play in the championship, who are also our strikers, and Pepi didn't play as much as he wanted to, and then Balogun didn't have the greatest season. So this is mostly Balogun, Pepi, and PFOX numbers, because our other strikers don't play necessarily in the top 6 leagues, although that could change, right? And then, of course, fullbacks still had a pretty decent contribution with 13%, 23 goals. Again, that was Dest, A-Rob, and Scally all contributing, and even 1 or 2 by our old friend Timmy Chandler. And then 3% came from center backs. That was Richards, Ream, and Brooks, because Austin Trusty did not get any. But you look at the distribution, I think it's fair to say that, midfield being the highest makes a lot of sense in terms of where our midfield is at, our midfield depth, right? Our midfield depth is very, very good right now and will only continue to get better. It's the number one area of our future that I don't really have any qualms or worries about. There are other places where you could be worried or have concerns. Midfield, not so much. So what does all this data tell us? Well, it tells us that we should be excited about the future and the present. It tells us that in terms of club production, this generation is already far superior to any generation that has gone before them, and they're still young. I think it's very realistic to say that next season, this group could easily break 200 goal contributions in the top 6. There are going to be more guys like Tanner Testman and Busio joining top 6 leagues. We don't know yet what's going to happen. There could be more guys from Belgium or from the Championship or even from MLS joining a top 5 league next season or top 6 league. So it's very possible that this number could increase. But I really think the next few years, I'd say the next 3 to 4 years, is where it will really matter, and you'll really start to see 300-400 goal contributions in top 6 leagues, not just because of sheer numbers of guys that we're going to be sending over there, but as our guys grow and mature and find their feet and play significant amounts of minutes, I think we're going to really see a huge surge in that production. For me, there's no question in my mind. This, even if you look at minutes, these guys have already broken the minutes record and nearly doubled it, right? So in terms of club contributions, Pulisic has already won the Champions League. No American ever really did that before. But overall, if you just look at minutes, amount of players, amount of minutes played, and amount of goal contributions, the numbers are significant. The numbers tell the tale of, this generation is definitely a high quality generation compared to anything we've ever had, and we should have high expectations for them, including in the Copa America, which starts very, very soon. We will cover the game against Colombia on Saturday, the friendly game Tax channel does a live watch along, and then the post game here at 11 Yanks. Smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Have a great week. Have a great day. I'll see you guys on Saturday. It's just getting exciting. The summer of soccer, USMNT, Olympic team, and U20 competition. So there's lots to cover and lots to talk about. I'm psyched. You should be too. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.